Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to our podcast. Don't let Haboob hit you in the face. And for those of you that live in the desert, you know what I'm talking about. Over my shoulder here, that is part of Arizona State University last summer that was being hit by a 65-mile wide dust storm. It was a mile high and it swallowed up the greater Phoenix area on a hot summer afternoon. It was the season for storms. It was the time for this kind of thing to happen. And most of us went to work at 8 o'clock that morning and drove out the door and had no idea that was coming. You guys, I've worked in this space with families. My business options for senior living helps families navigate the complexities of long-term care and finding the right senior living for a loved one. And so often they're in this season with a loved one. So often there are signs happening in their lives. There might be indicators happening for people. And unfortunately, for a variety of reasons, people are ignoring them. They're denying them. They're putting their heads in the sand, so to speak. And we end up getting introduced to each other in the midst of a crisis. And that haboob feels devastating, overwhelming, breathtaking, and creates all kinds of collateral damage, honestly. Behind that 65-mile wide dust storm was 100-mile-an-hour winds and torrential rain and floods and trees were knocked down and all kinds of collateral damage. People feel the very same way in their own personal lives. I've seen it for decades. And so has my friend Lora Johnson, who's our guest with me today. Lora is an elder law attorney. She's highly respected, decorated, experienced. She is the founder of Johnson and Ashworth over on the west side of Phoenix. We've been friends many years. We have a personal I love to share our little connection, but I am thrilled to talk to you today. Good to see you. How are you?
Thanks. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. This will be a fun discussion, I think.
You've seen this storm at times in people's lives, I imagine.
Just every day.
Well, my mission is to get people to call us before the crisis. That's my new marching orders.
I would
Call
love
us
that.
before the crisis. Let me start by this, because this is the little story. Then we'll get into the meat of this, because I think this is, you know what, we're just two people that have a job or have a role. We run our businesses, but we're just two people that have real lives, and we're parents, we're grandparents. We go do our things, and literally one of the, if not the first time, Laura and I were having lunch, and I want to say it's probably 17, 18 years ago. She and I were talking about where'd you go to high school and all this kind of thing, and we had some. You're on the west side. Sure. And what's your husband do? Oh, his mom was a teacher. Oh, really? Where'd she teach? Oh, the Peoria School District. Really? I went to high school in the Peoria District. By chance, what school did she teach at? Well, she was a guidance counselor. Oh, she was? Really? What school? Cactus High School. Really? What's your mother-in-law's name? Sue Johnson? Maybe? Right? And I go, your mother-in-law was my guidance counselor. And yeah. And I had a chance to tell your husband that when I finally got to meet him. And I said, he said, my mom did all kinds of stuff for kids that she just did. It was just who she was. But I said, well, this kid got a scholarship because your mom looked out. This kid got sent to a conference because of her on entrepreneurship and business ownership as a high school senior. And I'm like, why did she pick me out other than God's, finger in the moment of that? So God bless your mother-in-law, and
we love our teachers. It's a thankless job for sure.
Yeah. And Steve taught for years, right?
Yep. And how many podcasts do you have with two Arizona natives? So there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty crazy.
Exactly. Well, start from the top. Talk to me about elder law, the work you guys do, the specialty area of planning that you do and your staff does, because I guess that's where that's the best place to start this.
Yeah, I think it's it's hard to define, and I think the sad part about it is that I don't know that a lot of people know that it even exists. It's getting more common, but I think elder law is estate planning, but also with a focus and responsibility to know what community resources are available to people, to have connections in the community as people age, to be looking forward always, like not just to produce documents, but also to make sure they're going to work, and keeping an eye on the trajectory of the aging process, which obviously we can't control. I find it really frustrating that we keep trying to tell everyone that we're not going to age and that everyone can avoid this process. instead of embracing it and getting wisdom from it and tapping out our resources and just appreciating it for what it is. But it can be very traumatic, especially when you're not prepared. And it often sends people in a spiral in a direction that they were never planning on. And they have this ambiguous loss of their retirement plans, their marriage expectations, all of these types of things.
I've said it this way, and knowing your heart and knowing some other friends of mine that are in your space, you guys are attorneys that are social workers, with the hearts of social workers.
It's
And
true. It's true.
it's
Yeah.
really true. And
It's a
while you're,
rewarding practice. I love
yeah,
it.
yeah. And you guys, just so that you know, when my mom moved, and my mom didn't have stuff and things, but when mom moved to Arizona back in 14 or 15, we needed to update her documents. We needed to update several things. And Laura sat down with me and my mom and assured us and got us up to date. And mom's documents were old and brought us up to date on what the law was and what it was, the differences in Arizona from there to Nebraska, where her other documents were from. Just as a, hey, if you have brought your loved one to Arizona from another state to live closer to you, as I did with my mom, Arizona has some unique mental health power laws that families miss sometimes. Can you just touch on that real quick?
It's so frustrating. And I wish more people would talk about this. And even if you don't go see an attorney, the Attorney General's office has the form online. So until you can get in or talk to someone, put it in place. But because of some of the concerns about maybe, and we have a nice group of seniors who advocate for each other. So what they don't want is someone committed to any type of a psych unit who shouldn't be there. And so if you haven't given someone the ability to admit you to a lockdown unit, they won't be able to do that without that authority. And so many times we have we have healthcare powers of attorney in place. We've had them in place for a long time. Everything's working great. And then someone has a psych break where they're trying different medications or their fight or flight response is triggered because of what's going on. You have someone undressing you, you're not comfortable with it, all this stuff is happening. And the only way they can calm the person down is taking them into a lockdown unit. If you don't have something that specifically identifies, they can take me into the lockdown unit against my wishes. It has to be initialed. Even if it says mental health authority in your documents, that's not good enough. And I can't tell you how many times it's super frustrating because the attorneys make so much money off of this because you've got at least 2 or 3 attorneys involved. And it's not unusual for this process, even if you have healthcare powers of attorney, to end up costing like $30,000 in fees. So print that off of the Arizona Attorney General's website, get it signed, add it to your paperwork. The 20 cents of printing it out will save you $30,000.
Yeah, azag.gov. And we give that out all the time. And, our hope is that you would see an experienced attorney that can craft your documents with the right perfect language for you and your situation, but they are completely free and executable from the Attorney General's office, and we're grateful that they're there. Yeah, go ahead.
One also new development has been visitation, because the probate court really isn't set up to handle visitation for seniors like the family court is. And they're getting tired of navigating that among families that don't like each other, especially blended families. So the healthcare power of attorney has to specifically say that your agent can restrict visitation if they need to. But, and these families are in these facilities fighting. When my dad passed away 3 years ago in the ICU, there was a security guard outside of the room next to his. And I asked the ICU staff, and they would escort one family member in, escort another one out all day long. And I said, how often do you have that going on? And they said, every day. Like at least one room in our ICU has this happening. That's how intense these family situations are. And, now we're wasting a bunch of money in court arguing about who controls, who visits, and all this kind of thing. So that also is a new, really important consideration in the healthcare power of attorney.
I hope that helps clarify some things, but you're right. I, we didn't plan on being a blended family. Stacey didn't plan on being, but here we are. We're a blended family,
Okay.
right? Well, we got 3 adult kids. She has 3 adult kids. Constantly communicate with them, work on the relationship. I hope that my adult kids and her always stay on track so that if something happens to Big Daddy here, they all have, are all working
Yeah.
together for my best interest. If I can't speak for myself, and vice versa. I want, you know, Molly, Mike, and Leah to know that I've got their interest in this. If I'm put in a position to have to make decisions about their mom, um, because yeah,
I think a lot of times what happens is the kids can hold it together and be respectful to you. But then when you're not present or you're incapacitated, all of those feels that are unresolved in the moment and the anxiety of losing you and all of the guilt, I think that all comes out. And usually, unfortunately, the parents are sometimes caught in the middle of that.
yeah. You know what? I was unexpected. I lost my mom in November. After
I'm
quite
sorry.
a journey. Yeah, thanks. And one of the things I was not prepared for, even though I know all this stuff, was how my brothers and I would
Yeah.
splinter now that mom wasn't here. There was a lot of financial demand from mom towards us because she hadn't planned well for us. She had overspent quite a number of years. She couldn't meet all of her own financial needs.
I just read a statistic, I think it was in the AARP magazine that said 25% of seniors are getting financial assistance from their children right now.
hmm And mom was in that crossfire situation where she was broke and eligible for Altex or Arizona Long-Term Care, met our state Medicaid program, but she wasn't medically able to
Mm.
qualify until literally the last 30 days of her life. So, we started the application and then, we lost her. So many families are in that same boat, right? That
Agreed.
the system can only approve you if you really demonstrate the medical need for it. So being broke doesn't get you to the finish line on getting care support
And
if you're financially needy.
yeah, and I think the senior subsidized housing, waiting list is at least 2 years right now.
Mhm. Isn't that awful? Yeah, it's so it fell backwards and of course,
Yep.
each of my 3 brothers and I had different capacity to offer assistance.
Yep.
I ended up being the bank for most of it.
It is the reality of this, financial situation that we're in.
Yeah. Well, take me back. You go to school, you go to college. Did you go to college with the intention of being an attorney?
Nope, never.
What were you think? Because you're a musician and an artist. So what are you doing practicing law?
Yeah, I would like to know that too. But so my undergraduate is in psychology, and I had always kind of thought about getting my PhD in psychology, and I never wanted to be an attorney. I'd worked for attorneys. It just kind of happened because it was supposed to, and it was very addicting to be able to. This is a great area to practice in because people think that you pull off miracles every day and it's so fun and you get to know them so well. This navigating this process is so complicated, especially when you're a caregiver or an emotionally overwhelmed family member.
Then
It's the last thing that you wanna be doing to try to dig up, financial statements that are printed on letterhead in the right way to get approved by Altex. So, it's just a really awesome way to help, and, we see a lot of trauma and a lot of angst and a lot of bad things happen, but it's nice to be able to do something to help out, and it's a really fun practice. Very niche.
well,
It changes
yeah.
changes every day, and Altex changes the rules on us every single day, so it's not for the faint of heart or someone who wants to dabble for sure.
Well, and just to let our listeners know, so you do planning and estate documents and powers of attorney and all that kind of stuff, but there's one of the specialty areas is in this Medicaid or Altex planning, and that
Right,
is getting people positioned for eligibility with the Medicaid Altex program, right?
right, and tell you. The caseworkers try to be helpful, but it's my understanding they've got 500 cases they're trying to work right about right now. And so their job is to say you're eligible or not eligible. They don't really have time to tell you what to do to be eligible. So I can't express enough how frustrating it is when someone will come in 3 years after applying and getting denied, and I'll say, "Well, all you have to do is this, and then it will be approved." And they just don't know who to ask that question to. For most people, they think it's very black and white. We asked them for benefits, they said no. But there's always workarounds. Sometimes they're not worth doing, but there's always workarounds.
And so our one of our to-dos for today is, hey folks, in my case, we knew mom couldn't meet the eligibility requirements for the medical side of this. But if you don't, you have a situation where you as an adult child is having to financially come up with, the support for your parent, and you need some like, that's what you do, is you consult and give people that green light or the guidance on how to get it if they can. So rather than spend $1,000 a month for the next 9 years, maybe there's a pathway for eligibility to get you off that
Yeah.
merry-go-round. Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
met a granddaughter who exhausted her whole entire IRA, $175,000 for her grandmother before she came to see me, and had no idea that there was even a Medicaid program. So, I appreciate you doing things like this and getting more information out there, because that kind of broke my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. When you were in law school, who exposed you to this area of law? How did you know this was the way I was going to migrate my world then?
No, that's well, so I had 3 children when I was in law school. They were little. And so when I was going through, I wanted to talk to a lot of women. I remember there was a partner from one of the big law firms who came in to talk to our family group. And I said, "But you have a wife that stays home." And he's like, "Yeah, raising 5 kids is easy." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's different for me." Most of the women who had more of a flexible schedule did more estate planning things, that didn't involve as much court work. So I explored that a little bit, and I had a couple in my office, and they were telling me that they had worked on a problem for like 3 years, and you could just tell how much stress it brought to them. And I called the people and I said, "I'm their attorney and you need to fix this." And it was done. The relief on their face. And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be that you have to pull the attorney card to get somewhere. But it was very addicting, and it was just awesome. So I've spent a lot of time over the last 25 years figuring out this area and following what's been happening, and so that I can provide good resources and have good connections with people in the community, and so I know what's out there. And it's been very, very rewarding, and there's a lot of help that people don't know about that they've had a hard time connecting to.
Yeah. Families need to know what we've gleaned along the way, and so they can, I don't know, curb some of the hit that they're going to take, because I don't know how anybody gets through this aging and the aging parent situation unscathed. It's going to be painful. There's going to be grief. There's going to be loss. There's going to be financial impact. There's going to be broken relationships. There's going to be issues with your brothers that you didn't know that you even had.
And just the nature of the disease is very isolating. We just had a gentleman he lived in a senior community on this side of town, but he just had to his wife was in excruciating pain for 3 years, serious dementia, all alone, didn't feel like he had any resources, and had to make a decision about ending her life or not ending her life as a caregiver, because he felt so alone. And these are the things that should not be happening. No one should have to make that decision
Yeah.
in a community.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a guest on back, and he is a local audiologist, and we were talking through that untreated hearing loss can lead to premature onset of dementia. And I'm like, well, now that you mention it, I'm having a hard time hearing things at church. I'm having a hard thing. I went out to dinner last night, and I missed half the conversation at the dinner table because the noise was so profound in the room. And he goes, well, you should come in and see me. Well, um, 2 weeks from now, I'm getting to go pick up my hearing aids.
Oh,
So when you said you have to embrace this aging thing, I'm like, look,
I think
I'm
that's so beautiful.
I'm 63, and either I'm gonna be part of the problem and keep pretending aging isn't happening to us, or I'm gonna, because I don't wanna be 69 years old and my wife having these other issues because I was proud or unwilling, and I'm already 6 years older than her, and so the last thing I need to do is make it like I'm 20 years older than her, and now she's got a big mess on her hands, so I'll be the guy that's could you
One of
say that
the
again?
One of the saddest things for my dad was that he had access to free hearing aids through the VA, and he absolutely wouldn't do it, and
Wouldn't do it.
he missed out a lot, and it did affect him. It isolated him more, made it hard for him to communicate with my mom, and we went to lots of '80s concerts with hair bands, right? That I thought hearing loss was, like, part of the residual consequence.
I saw Ted Nugent and Black Sabbath and all those guys,
As a Motley
and we're
Crue.
still and we're
Yeah.
still going.
I just went and saw him with my daughter.
We're going to see Rush when they're gonna
Yes,
do a
us
tour.
too. I'll see you
We're
there.
going to see Rush.
They're just
So I'll turn my age. I don't know, but I'm getting, but I can't be talking about this without saying, okay, wait a minute, I'm going to need to embrace the realities of this and use it as an opportunity to teach. Right?
there's a
How many
there's
of our
there's a great book. Have you read the book Being Mortal by Atul Gawande?
no,
It's
I should.
so good, and it talks about he's a physician. He talks about his dad who's a physician and, just being in charge as you age of
Yeah.
navigating things that he wished people knew, patients knew to be able to navigate their own healthcare a little bit better in their own personal situations. We read it
Well,
at the office, and I highly recommend.
all right. Being mortal.
Yeah.
All right. I'll look it up and grab it from Amazon. Along that line, I had a question for you. Part of the focus of this is for the adult kids. Absolutely. Part of this is for other attorneys and other professionals because the
Yeah.
content is intended to highlight what other professionals should be understanding, asking about, bringing up with their clients, whether they're financial advisors or they're real estate professionals or they're mental health counselors.
That's where I get all my referrals
From the mental health people or all
from
those other people, all
other
that.
professionals, other
Yeah.
attorneys, social workers, financial advisors, because 'cause
I
they're
came up with a
scared because their person usually says to them, "I don't know how I'm gonna afford this, and what am I gonna do?" And they're terrified,
yeah.
and that's where we pick it up and try to help.
Well, I even said to my primary care doctor in my annual physical last summer, he typically hands me or his MA will hand me a sheet. It says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? You know, smiley face. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you drink? On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your stress level? And I handed it back to him when he walked in the room and I go, can I add one question to your little exam that you give me every year? Is there someone in your life whose
Mhm.
aging journey is kicking your tail? I said, he goes, what? And I go, how many people between the ages of 45 and 65 are feeling what I'm going to tell you? So if I'm drinking too much, it's because I just want to choke my mother. It's either get numb or hurt her. You know what I mean? These are the reality. I'm just a reactive bumble jumble of emotion and nerve. And so, doc, please hear what I'm saying to you.
It's a real we're part of this sandwich generation where you're caring for the parents on the one end, and you're trying to help the kids navigate into adulthood on the other end, and you're kinda stuck. And I
Yeah.
think that's another ambiguous loss. I mean, who thought that you would be I think we were told we would be heading towards retirement and you would be able to have all these goals, but you're strapped down with all of these responsibilities on both sides of you.
Yeah, we have a private Facebook group we call the Aging Parent Tribe, which invites caregivers and professionals to come together and in a safe place, not to promote business, but to be there for each other and to communicate and share. And I think we got 700 members or something out of the group. So it's exciting. There's more conversations about all these things. And I made a post in there just after my mom passed, and I called it the busyness in the business of losing a loved one. And it it has been getting into the way of my own personal grieving. And then you add the complications with the relationship issues with my brothers.
Yeah.
These are real things.
It is a real thing. And the physicality of the grieving brain is a real thing that is just now starting to be studied. I see a lot of people that the trauma of losing a family member actually seems to facilitate the onset of dementia or other memory issues as they age that they can't seem to recover from.
Yeah. I feel like from November till mid-February, I was pretty foggy. I was not
Yeah. I
memory, attention
Me
to
too, 2
detail.
years, which
You
is
said
when I
that to
lost
me.
my dad was I thought I was losing my mind.
You told me that when I was in your office. I thought I
You
got
don't
some
want
clarity when we came back from the beach. Sat on the beach for 5 days in February and watched the Navy practice at Coronado Island and do what we did and ate too much and felt like I had a little bit of grip on me again when I came back,
I'm
honestly.
glad. I'm glad.
Yeah. I got something else to ask you about. A year and a half ago, my daughter joined the business. Stacy and I have been working together. We worked together once right after we got married 11 years ago, and she got a job in a year or two because it didn't go very well, and I wasn't very well prepared to lead us. We had more boundaries and more definition to this time around, and now we've been adding the kids. Your husband's there, your daughter's there.
My best friend.
How's your family business?
It's awesome. He just, Chip and Joanna I read their book and they were talking about you just have to have your own realm. Everybody, I'm not a micromanager. I have fabulous, fabulous people here, and each of them has a very specific task. Everybody knows what that is. And we all just plow through, each thing that might be going on. So we have a specific paralegal for our probate. We have a specific paralegal for our guardianships and conservatorships. We have a specific paralegal for our Altex. We have a couple support staffs for answering phones and things like that. It's such an amazing group. There's 3 attorneys here. I really don't want to get bigger because I don't really love the administrative part of it, but uh, I feel like we're doing good work in the community, and I'm proud of what we've been able to do.
Yeah. I was looking at your website and with all of you there together, is there 8 of you? Is that right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And you and Steve get to ride herd over all that. So that's really, really cool. I I I personally didn't know how to create a legacy for me in my business. I've been at it similarly, same amount of time as you've been at it.
It's hard.
My adult kids didn't want any part of this. And so to Stacy and now Stacy's daughters, Molly and Leah, to join us has really been a gift. And it hasn't been easy. They're young adults, young professionals learning their way. I told them, you guys are going to grad school, man, really fast. This is going to be like going to University of Phoenix, and you're going to get 4 years of information in about 18 months. Strap on. But
It's a little tricky because the nice thing about having family is I'm not going to get hit with a sexual harassment suit when I send them to the dry cleaner or to the car wash or something like that. But also you have to work on the other side to make sure you're minimizing the nepotism for the other employees who feel like they're valued and important to the practice.
yeah. Hey, as we're kind of winding down, you're positioned over on the kind of the southwest side of town. Around you is Goodyear and Pebble Creek, and just north of you is the Sun Cities. And man, you've got lots and lots and lots of retired folks. And so my message, of course, is to call us before the crisis. My remedy for that is education as much as we can do, opportunities like this to push the podcast out, but to do events and the fire departments, Laura, are feeling it badly. Across the greater Phoenix area, they had 80,000 times the truck rolled last year to pick people up off the ground. That's Phoenix, that's Goodyear, Glendale, Peoria, Sun Cities, Chandler, all of it together.
My clients tell me they do that all the time. So I have no doubt. And I don't know, there's just no one else to do this. And we got to get some more education out there.
We got to. I interviewed the public information officer for the CS Scottsdale Fire, and Scottsdale Fire has been very innovative. They have now partnered with they have a program they call Home Safe Home, and they've partnered with an outfit called the Right Care Foundation. And Right Care, and we are volunteers to the fire department now. We're part of this ministry and mission to the city.
Good.
We've got like 5 referrals from the city this week, literally saying, we've been out to this house multiple times. Can you go see them? And we come in with a tried and true methodology that Right Care has been fine tuning for 20 years. Goodyear has put their hands up and said, we want to be next.
Awesome.
How big would that be to Pebble Creek, right?
That would be awesome. Yes.
Right. We can go in and do this face to face, about an hour, and we can give them all kinds of safety, a full over picture of what their safety issues are in the house, but also then looking at things like burden of care and quality of life and medical condition management and their independence and autonomy. It's all together. It's not just
Wonderful.
you need a rug picked up or do you need grab bars. That's a small part of the big picture that we are now trained to go do. I'm hoping that this comes together for Goodyear, but goodness gracious, what could we do in the next 12 months just for the Pebble Creek people? If we could do some education, what could Scott and Laura do together and not sell what we do, but help you age in place safely, right?
Get good information out there that's true. I can't tell you how much time I spend debunking marketing targets and different things like that. It's so frustrating. Paying some more attention to scams, being able to prosecute more of people who are taking advantage. I just had a client in here this week who had given away $1.8 million to scammers. So it's a real, and she's capacitated.
Yeah.
So there's a big push to change this definition for Arizona from incapacitated to vulnerable, and to expand the definition of what a vulnerable person is so that you can have some criminal penalties. Because most of the first responders groups have specialists for elders and, investigating these things. But we don't have the resources or every time I ask them how many cases are actually prosecuted, it's like 0. I've talked to the person from Phoenix and the person from Peoria one has been doing it for 3 years and one 7, 0. So
Really?
It's insane how much people get away with. And a lot of times it's family members. So that's the complexity of it, but crazy.
Yeah. We live in a world where you and I are often called in somewhere between impairment and incapacity is happening.
Yep.
And I love what you said about this idea about redefining what vulnerable is, which would then, protect that people, because just for the legal definition of it, what is impaired and what is incapacity? Can you tell me that?
So, well, if you're interested in looking at what's being proposed, I think it's Senate Bill 1512 that was introduced.
Right.
I think it went through the Senate. It's maybe in the House or something along those lines. But but legal capacity is a really low threshold. It's, can I have a conversation with you about who your children are in the moment? Can you understand what your assets were last time you were managing your assets? And can you understand the concept of whatever we're proposing? So maybe someone being your power of attorney agent or something like that. So on most people, even in mid to late dementia, you can have that conversation. But you hyper bond to your caregiver. You have someone from the outside coming in and taking care of you that doesn't understand boundaries and creates an inappropriate relationship. You don't understand that when you call the 1-800 number at Roku that you're not talking to the FTC. I mean, all of these things are happening and the person's not incapacitated, but they're vulnerable. The statute right now basically says over 65, you're vulnerable, but there's no teeth to it. So the new legislation is expanding that as to who has a close relationship, who could be looked at as influencing you, and also what could the criminal penalties be if you're taken advantage of.
That would be good. I feel like you and I spend a lot of our time in that swimming pool of impairment with people. My mother was terribly impaired. She just had full capacity. And I had to continue to honor her authority in her life without, bludgeoning her, but had to love her and lead her at the same time. And sometimes she liked it and sometimes she fought back and resisted, right? And
Right.
she still had full authority in her life.
Well,
We
and
hope that
that's
people
that's the tricky part, is that all of your weird, you lose all your filters, and so however complex that relationship was, it becomes more complex because and so it's hard to not take that personal, or to not think that the person's, saying or doing things to purposely drive you crazy.
I tried to tell her, and I tell this to my clients, I never want to do anything to you, always with and for. But when impairment seeped into the issue, then judgment, insight, problem solving, those things
Absolutely.
got all mucked up. And now she feels like stuff's being done to her, and no matter how much I said I love you. So then you take it personal, and I'm
Yep,
just a
and
regular
at
guy
that
with,
point, you're not getting a thank you, so it's exhausting emotionally and physically, and you burn out, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
is something that no one can explain.
yeah, yeah. Um, to our listeners, I hope this has been a healthy, rich wealth of information, conversation. There's been so much wisdom you shared and insight, Laura. Thank you for being a friend all these years. And thanks for doing this with me today and sharing
Thank you. Thank you.
yourself with us. Yeah, this has been really, really good. Tell everybody how to get a hold of you, what your website is, and if you would.
So our website is www.johnsonestate law.com, and our phone number is 623-505-3903. And we have a real live person who answers the phone.
Not a bot. It's not an AI buddy. It's not somebody in South America or something.
No, we still have this generation of people who need, and we deal with a lot of emergencies. So we got to figure out. Sometimes everyone thinks it's an emergency. Maybe they've waited to do their estate planning for 90 years, but we really need a person to be able to determine what are the true emergencies and what
Yeah,
aren't.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, you've helped me with my family. We have more stuff to do together on our fronts, and
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
yeah, yeah, we'll do some things. I've got some ideas for what maybe we could do later this year, and if you want to do some workshops and things together, I really would love to do that with you as we kind of tackle some of these larger community-based issues. So you listen to our listeners. Thank you for being a part of this again. We're growing in listeners, and it's exciting to see things pick up and have traction. If you're a professional listening to this, listen to Laura, listen to our guests. We're trying to provide insights to these very complicated issues, and so that you can help your clients with these conversations or pointing them to the right resources in the community. I mentioned the Aging Parent Tribe. We're super proud of that group. And so go to Facebook and look us up, Aging Parent Tribe Phoenix. And if you are in that category, jump in, become part of the conversation. There's help to be had from others. Don't isolate. Don't live in a space where you as a lover of someone gets scammed out of $1 million and things. Be there where we can help you. So we look forward to you joining us on our next episode. Thank you again for your time today, and look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.